Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you a Barry Harris lick from his solo on Morning Coffee from the album Live at the Jazz Workshop. So I'm going to attach a link to the original recording for you below so that you can listen to the whole solo. Here's how it goes. So he goes, I'll play that again. So, what's he playing there? So he's playing this lick over a 2-5-1 progression in the key of F. So he plays this over G minor to C7 and then to F major. Right? So as piano players we tend to think of chords. So we are probably thinking G minor 7, C7, F, like I said. But when you're improvising, it's best to think of scales. So the bebop players usually thought of scales because chords come from scales. So scales are very important. So instead of thinking of 2-5, when you're improvising, think of 5 and think of the scale that's based on that 5. In this case, instead of thinking G minor 7, think of C7. So this here is the C7 scale. That's a C dominant 7th scale. Now, one thing that bebop players loved to do was to add some chromatic notes, some little half steps. So, if a bebop player is playing a C7 scale, starting from that root, he might add just a chromatic passing note, a little half step between the root and the 7th. So he might play that, right? So, and Barry Harris actually starts off his phrase exactly like that. So he starts on the 7th of that C. Okay, so he plays, he goes up and then he comes down that scale. So he goes, right? He could have played that, you know, but or so that's all C7. Okay, the left hand is playing G minor to C7, but the right hand is simply thinking C7. So he plays. Now he wants to make sure that he ends his phrase on a very strong note, which is a note that's found in the chord, in the C7 chord. So he ends on a chord tone. That's where he wants to resolve. So he plays, and we can really feel that that's definitely a C7 that he's playing there. Okay, so one chord that bebop players loved to play on that dominant 7th scale was the chord that's found on the 3rd of that scale, because there are chords on every note of that scale. All right, so if I play a chord starting on the 1st note of the scale, there it is. That's the 1st chord from C7. Here's the 2nd chord. There's the 3rd. So all those chords are coming from, they're coming from that dominant 7th scale. Now, bebop players loved to play a diminished chord starting on the 3rd note of the scale. Okay, so the 3rd note of the scale is E, and there's the diminished, right? Right? They'll play things like that. Right? So I'm playing the diminished starting on the 3rd. All this time, remember, I'm thinking of C7. Okay, So to get to that diminished though, Barry wants to surround this E here. So he surrounds it by playing the D first and then the F. Okay, so surrounding is a very common bebop technique that all players use, right? So he goes. Okay, once he's surrounded it, then he plays his diminished. Okay, so watch. From the beginning, surround, diminished, and then resolves it on that F major. And he plays again a chord tone, which is that C. C is found in the F chord, right? So here it is again. And then he goes down the scale. And now he uses some chromatic passing notes, right? Chromatic approach notes rather, because he wants to approach this A. Okay, so now how is he going to approach this A? He's going to go from 2 half steps below and he's going to play. So those are just 2 chromatic approach notes. Okay, so now here's the whole lick again. So, how best can we make use of this lick? The first thing I always love doing is to take a lick and then play it in all 12 keys